शांति शांति शांति। My pranam to all of you. So, before I start this Gherint Samhita, I thought that it is better to give you little introduction about the historical aspect of Hatha Yoga. Though the yogic knowledge which was scattered in the scripture, it was systematized by Patanjali long back in 200 BC. But if you go back in the pre-Vedic period, you will find that we have some evidences on the basis of which we can say that Hatha Vidya was also prevalent during the Indus Valley civilization also. And John Marshall has made some plates, and these are available in our library. It is available. So, in Vedic period also, in Upanishadic period also, say for example in Vedas, you don't find the concept of asana. But if you go through the Atharva Veda, you find that the word asandhi is used, and this asandhi word stands for the wooden dais which was used for sitting. So, if people were practicing yoga as per their temperament, and therefore the different schools of yoga came into existence. If we classify all these schools can be classified under two heads. One is the Prana Sanyamana Yoga and other one is Bhavana Yoga. Those who are dealing with the energy, the pranic energy, they are said to be Prana Sanyamana Yoga. Say for example, Mantra, Hatha, Lay and Raj. This four comes under this category. And under Bhavana Yoga, the Jnana, Bhakti and Karma. These three. So, this is what is the kind of tradition, though Patanjali Yoga Sutra is the parental stalk for the further developments, there is no doubt about it. So, when we talk about, there are various aspects, but I am directly coming to the Hatha Yoga. People used to understand this Hatha as that you have to do some forceful things, and that is the reason why today in the market you find that this hot yoga has come, wherein in 48 degree you have to perform certain practices, There are so many things. People, they do not understand actually the concept of Hatha Yoga, and therefore there is a problem. So, the purpose, as I said, that they have classified this Hatha Yoga under the Prana Sanyamana Yoga, it has to do something with the cosmic energy. If we go through the traditional texts, we find that Hakara Uchyate Surya, Thakaras Chandra Uchyate, Surya Chandra Masor Yoga, Hathitya Vidhiyate. That is what is the concept of Hatha. Hakara Uchyate Surya. It deals with the Pingala Nari, we call it Surya Nari. And Thakaras Chandra Uchyate, the Ida Nari or Chandra Nari. At this moment, we can observe that sometime our right nostril works, sometime our left nostril works. When the right nostril is working, at that point of time, all the catabolic functions are going on in the body. And when your left nostril works, it is the anabolic functions they are doing, they are working. So all the time this both the nostrils, they are not working together. So sometime right works, sometime left works. Here I would like to let you know the brief story about the concept of Kanda. There are two opinions in the scripture. I am a man of scripture, tradition. So I will talk only in terms of tradition. So the concept of Kanda is a kind of bulbous root, and it is all nadis are originated from this Kanda. There are two opinions in the scripture. Some of them they say that it is located at the umbilicus area. Some of them they say no, it is located at the Mooladhara chakra, at the base chakra. And all nadis are originated from this. So, and there are 72,000 nadis. But if you go through the Shiv Samhita, it says 3,50,000 nadis. If you go to Charan Das, he will say 72,864 nadis. So, what are these nadis? This is also to be understood properly. These are not the nerves, these are not the shiras and hers of Ayurvedic. These are the subtle energy channels. Means pranic energy flows through these channels, and therefore they are said to be subtle energy channels. Only the practitioner can understand these nadis, none other than practitioners. So, we'll give you one example. Means when you are sitting in front of the TV, if you press the button, there is a path which is not visible, but your TV set or whatever the instrument, it reads. There is a path. This path is not visible, but there is a path in the space. The mobile is also tower and your cell phone. It is also one and the same. There is a path, but it is not visible. Only that this TV can read or your mobile can read, nothing else. So these are said to be the subtle energy channels. So Ida Nadi and Pingala Nadi, about which I was talking. So there is a Sushumna Nadi in between these two nadis. And so long, there is another concept that pranic energy, it is one and the same. Cosmic energy, it is one and the same. But when it works different places in the different body, the different names are given. Say for example, the prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana. These are the five main pranas. Nag, Kurum, Krikal, Devdat and Dhananjay, these are the five upapranas. How they are working, it will be good to understand, because ultimately these are not the concepts to be memorized and by-hearted and should be taught to others. It is to be practiced, it is to be understood properly. It should be realized how these pranic energy is working in the body. So, the prana which is said to be from nose to the chest, whatever you take in, whatever you swallow or take in, whether it is sensory inputs, you cannot take in anything without the help of this prana. This is called the prana. And then, say for example, you swallow a mouthful, you are eating food, and this food you swallowed, it goes through the esophagus to the umbilicus area. Now there is a Saman Pran which assimilates this. It is a kind of grinder, As in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna himself says, Aham Vaishwa Naro Bhutva Praninam Dehamashrita Pranapan Samayutta Pachamennam Chaturvidha. So, the in Chandogya Upanishad, Chaturvidasya annasya rasasteda vibhajyate tatra sartamo bhagaha lingadehasya poshakaha. Whatever the food, four kind of food we are eating, when it reaches to the umbilicus area, there is a Sman Pran which digests and excretes the three rasas. Three ras. The first is said to be the Uttama ras, which nourishes your subtle body, your Linga Sharira. And the middle part which nourishes your Sthula body. And the rest is the waste material. Now, whatever the product available at the umbilicus area, now it is to be transported to the each and every cell of the body. And therefore, the Vyan Pran comes, which remains in the whole body. It transports. Now, the waste material is to be expelled out properly from the body. So, the Apan Pran, which remains below the umbilicus up to the anus area. So, whatever you expel out, whatever you throw out, it goes out only with the help of Apan Pran. Even though mucus, sweating, carbon dioxide or whatever, stool, urine, whatever you expel out only with the help of Apan Pran. Now, there is a Udan Pran. The place is said to be from throat to the head. So, your higher activities, at this moment, you can observe that there is a sequential relationship in my thought from one thought to the other thought. So, this sequential relationship is established by the Udan Prana. Now, this Udan Prana is also responsible to detach us from this body at the time of so-called death. Now, Nag Prana, it is a Up Prana. Nag, when you eat, whenever you are gulping the food, at that point of time, you are also gulping the air. Air also goes to the stomach. As you fill the stomach, slowly this air comes up. If you go to Europe, they do not appreciate if you regurgitate. Belching, डकार आती है हम सबको, belching. So, in Europe it is not appreciated, but it should be allowed to come out. Otherwise, but the person can become the victim of the gases problem. Therefore, this Nag Pran should not be suppressed or repressed. And if it is repressed, so the person will come to him because he is a practitioner. He will let you know that no, unless you do the Pavan Muktasana, this gas will not be released. So, Kurum Pran, your blinking of the eyes, they are controlled by the Kurum Pran. Krikal Pran, whenever there is a need of energy, it controls your hunger and thirst. Devadatta, the yawning and as well as the sneezing, it is only because of the Devadatta Pran. And Dhananjay Pran, whenever there is an injury, this area swells. So, I used to say to my students that whenever there is an injury, so this area swells because it prepares, this Dhananjay Pran prepares the, the space, so that the red cell and white cell can fight together. So, it creates a battlefield. Even this Dhananjay Pran remains in the body after the death. You might have observed that a person thrown in the water, after some time the person comes up. It is only because of Dhananjay Pran the person comes up. So, this is a small, so energy not only enlivens the body, but responsible for each and every function of the body. This is to be understood because Hatha Yoga deals with the energy, so we should understand this. So they say that there is a cosmic energy which has individualized. This energy, जावत वायु स्थितो देहे तावत जीवन मुच्यते मरणम तस्य निष्क्रांति ततो वायु निरोधयेत. That is what Bhagavat, this Bhatt Pradipika says in the second chapter. Means, so long that individualized Vaishvik Prana, the cosmic energy which is individualized in this body, it is revolving at the pelvic floor, at the perineum part. Some of the yogis, they say it is below the base chakra, and some of them they say it is at the base chakra. Even though they have said that the kand is like a roots of a banana tree. Some of them they say it is like a rubber ball. Some of them they say like it is an egg-shaped bulbous root from which the nadis are originated. So, the purpose of Hatha Yoga is to enter this prana into Sushumna Nadi, which is revolving. It is revolving in a circular form in Kundalakar, and therefore it is equated with the Kundalini Shakti, we call it. It is actually a prana, Vaishvik prana. It is a cosmic prana. Your breathing is a bridge. Dear friends, this is to be understood properly. You can stop your breathing. It does not mean that Kumbhaka, when we do Kumbhaka, there is a experiment was done and 8 minutes to 10 minutes person can remain without breathing. It was done in our laboratory in Kaivalyadham. So breathing is a bridge between your individualized prana and the cosmic prana. Always the individualized prana is being recharged through this breathing. Now, the purpose of Hatha Yoga, your both the nostrils, they can not work together. Whenever there is a change, every 1 hour there is a change. If you keep yourself under observation, you can observe that sometime your right nostril, sometime your left nostril. Whenever there is a changeover, that friction of second, and that is the time. If you catch that time, you will be able to understand that both the nostrils, they flow together. But it is only for the friction of second. Now, this prana which is revolving at the perineum part, we call it Kundalini Shakti. With the help of various practices, say for example, asana, the Chhatkriyas, mudras, bandha, this and that, there are some composite view of all the practices should be taken into consideration. Not single practice is sufficient to enter that prana into Sushumna Nadi. So the purpose of Hatha Yoga is to enter this prana into Sushumna Nadi, and all the chakras, they are situated in Sushumna Nadi. This prana, it presses all the chakras, and ultimately it reaches to the Sahasrara, which is the place said to be the Lord Shiva. This energy merges with Shiva, and therefore this is a union, and this is called Hatha Yoga. This is the basic concept, dear friends, of Hatha Yoga. Though we start with the body, but it does not mean, even though we are going to discuss about Ghatastha Yoga, Ghat Yoga, it is a Ghat as if it is made up of the mud, made up of mud. Clay, you can say. So this, when you are, but it is to be taken, it is to be understood properly that whenever you are working at the body level, it does not mean that you are working only at the body level. You are working at all level. You are working with the energy, you are working with your emotions, you are working with every aspect. You cannot eat dhauti, vastra dhauti, unless you are emotionally stable. So, composite view, with the help of all the practices, the prana enters into Sushumna, presses all the chakras and the granthis, and it reaches to the Sahasrara, and that is what the union of Shiva and Shakti. That is what is the concept of Hatha Yoga. Now, With regard to this Hatha Yogic, there are so many texts, but let me tell you, long back there was a Dr. Shukla in our philosophical literary research department, and he has written one article which is published in Yoga Mimamsa. Yoga Mimamsa is the first journal in the world which was published in 1924 by Swami Kuvalananji himself, and the first experiment that was done on Udyan. With the help of this Udyan, the negative pressure is created, and with the help of this negative pressure, you can suck anything inside without any effort. So that was the first experiment objectively done by Swami Kuvalananda, the founder director of this Kaivalya Dham Institute, who was the first man in the world who could think during that period to do some experimental study and with a view to convince the people that yoga has a complete message for the human body, it has a message for human mind, it has a message for human spirit. So means yoga is for the humanity. That is what he wanted to establish. It is not for it. Because in previous olden days, people were practicing, only the sannyasis were practicing or other people were practicing, and it was a misconception that it is not good for the householders. So with a view to establish scientifically, he has done this job, and credit goes to him, and thereafter so many experimental studies have been carried out, and today it is established that yoga is a science. But strictly, I used to say that it is a science, but it is not only the objective science, it is a subjective science. It is a spiritual science, you can say. So, there are so many things, but Dr. Shukla has brought up the 5 Hatha Yogic texts. He has identified the 5 Hatha Yogic texts. What are they? Can we? So, go ahead, I have discussed this. So, these are the 5 Hatha Yogic texts: Goraksha Shatakam, Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati, Hatha Pradipika, Ghiran Samhita, and Shiv Samhita. Now, in the 6th century BC, Goraksha ji started, and he has written one Goraksha Shatak. Go back. Goraksha Shatakam. Actually speaking, this is also a wonderful work carried out by Swamiji himself, Swami Kuvalananji himself. Shatak means the 100. In Sanskrit it is called 100. So, Swamiji had a hypothesis in his mind that if it is a Shatak, it should contain only the 100 verses. But when he started working, he found that on the name of Goraksha Shatak there were many books, and 147, 135, 150, 157 verses were. So Swamiji thought that it is better. Goraksha has accepted 6 limbs of yoga. Are you aware of the limbs? Say for example, Ashtanga Yoga. This is the tradition of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. There is a tradition of 6 limbs of Gorakshanathji, 4 limbs of Hatha Pradipika, and 7 limbs Ghiran Samhita, and there is a 15 limbs. If you go through the Tejo Bindu Upanishad, there are 15 limbs of yoga. Here on this aspect we will discuss sometime. Now let me introduce these texts in front of you. So Goraksha Shatakam, so 6 limbs, they should be discussed in the 100 verses. That is what. So go ahead. So Goraksha Shatakam is said to be first exposition of Hatha Yoga by Gorakshanathji. The text is very precise in its presentation. It contains 100 verses, as the name of the text itself suggests, and describes 6 limbs: asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi. Here there is a question, there may be a question in your mind that these people, they do not mention about yamas and niyamas. But it does not mean that they were, because during that period when they started, people were following automatically this, and therefore they do not. But if you go Atyahara Prayasacha, this Mitahari, Yogi, Tyagi, Yoga Parayana, these are the words used by Swatmaram as well as the Gorakshanath Means it means that they are having this in mind that yamas and niyamas are very important. They are the roots. So if we want to develop this yoga briksh within us, so then we have to water the roots. So these are the yamas and niyamas which are to be. So next one. This is the small introduction of the Goraksha Shatak. 6 limbs of yoga. Now Siddha Siddhanta Paddhati is again written by Gorakshanath Ji. It talks about the whatever this body is considered to be the miniature of this universe. That is what is the Yatha Brahmande Tad Pindande. That is what is the concept elaborated in this text thoroughly. This text mainly deals with the tradition and practices of Siddhas and Yogis along with the essential aspects of Hatha Yoga. This is describes about the concept of Pind and Brahmanda. It is just giving you the idea. Next, Hatha Pradipika. Hatha Pradipika, why we call it? If you go through the other publications, you will find Hatha Yoga Pradipika. And why I have put here Hatha Pradipika? Because I was one of the member in the team where we have all these 5 texts we have critically edited. So I am one of the editors. So why we have given this name and why we do not accept Hatha Yoga Pradipika? If you go through the Adyar, this publication, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, or anywhere others, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, we call it Hatha Pradipika. Why? Because in the colophon is the end, but this sentence of the chapter, it is called colophon. Say for example, yesterday night when we were eating, before eating we started this 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, and then last iti Shrimat Bhagavad Gita Ayam Upanishadsu, this and that, this is called colophon. If you go through the colophon, you will be convinced that Swatmaram himself says it is Hatha Pradipika, not Hatha Yoga Pradipika. This is a great evidence available to us. Now the second importance of this text which we have carried out, it contains 5 chapters. 5 chapters. Other publications it contains 4 chapters, but this contains 5 chapters. The 5th chapter is very, very important. If you practice wrongly, what will happen to you? And how to treat this? So therapeutical aspect is taken care of through the 5th chapter of this Hatha Pradipika. So this is very, very important. Now, coming to our Ghiran Samhita, which is written by Ghirinda, and he prefers to call this text as Ghat Yoga, and therefore he says Ghatastha Yoga. Although whatever the practices he has described, all are Hatha Yogic practices, but it is a Ghatastha Yoga. So first and foremost is that as this mud pot is to be baked properly with a view to give the strength, even in Kumar Sambhav, Kalidas says, Sharir Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. Whatever the duties, you can perform that duty only when you have that kind of body, So Ghatastha, he deals with the Ghatastha Yoga. It mainly deals with all those practices which are considered to be Hatha Yogic. It has accepted 7 limbs of Ghat Yoga: Kriya, Asana, Mudra, Pratyahar, Kumbhaka, Dhyana and Samadhi. Here I would like to say few words. Friends, if you go through you have discussed, Dr. Penna has discussed about the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali with you. And there is a sequence, People used to say that there is a sequence: Yam, Niyamasan, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana and Samadhi. This is a sequence kind of. For people, if you go through I don't accept this as a sequence. Why? You have heard that Chitta Vritti Nirodha. How to do this Chitta Vritti Nirodha? Abhyas Vairagyabhyam Tannirodha. There are two methods. These are the general methods. Abhyas, which is to be done for a long period of time. Patanjali says Satu Dirgha Kal Nirantarya Satkara Sevito Didabhumi. Then only it becomes firm grounded, when you do it for a long period of time without any interruption and with a receptive attitude. Now, Vairagya is considered to be of two kinds. That is Upper Vairagya. Upper Vairagya is again of four kinds. Yatman Sangya, when you try to withdraw. This is Yatman Sangya. Thereafter, Vyatirek. Vyatirek, this much I have conquered and this much is left. This is yet to be controlled. So you are in that state of mind. Now third one is Ekendriya. You have controlled your all other aspects, other sensory organs. But the one is left, that is Manas, is left. Now thereafter comes the Vashikar Sangya Vairagya, where Patanjali defines this Vashikar Sangya Vairagya. He says, Drishta Anushravika. Drishta means whatever you have seen, and Anushravik you have heard. You have heard about the heaven. We have heard about many things. So, experienced, seen and unseen. When you develop that kind of detachment towards the all pleasures which you have experienced or you have heard, that is called the Vashikar Sangya. You develop that kind of mastery. That is what Patanjali says. This is the upper Vairagya again, which is helpful to take you up to the Sabij Samadhi. But there is a Par Vairagya. Tat Param Purush Kyater Gun Vaitrishnam. That is what Patanjali says. Tat Param, highest than that. Purush Khyate. When you get the glimpses of that to the pure conscious, then you develop a kind of detachment towards the root cause of all the objective world. And what is the root cause according to this? It is Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. So this is what, when you develop this kind of detachment, it says, this becomes the cause of your Nirvija Samadhi. So, friends, when Patanjali talks about Chitvritti Nirodha, he is talking about Abhyas Vairagyabhyam Tannirodha. But when he is describing the Ashtanga Yoga in the 28th Sutra of the second chapter, he says, Yoganga Anushtanat Ashuddhi Kshay Gyan Diptir Aviveka Khyate. Now here is the point. People, they do not have given. If you go through the even traditional commentaries, you will find that they have translated this Anushthan word, Yoganga Anushthanat, Yoganga Abhyasa. No friends, I don't agree. I have written one article on this and it is published in Yoga Mimamsa. Friends, Abhyas is always one end in view. But Anushtan, as if you have to continue, We say Gayatri Anushtan. We never say Gayatri Abhyas. We never say this. It is a Anushtan is it is a kind of commencement, As if you are flowing with the current of the water. That is what is Anushtana. Now, this is what. So, wherever you are. So, this Ashtanga Yoga should not be understood as a sequence, one after the another after the another. But it should be equated. It can be understood like a tree. You can equate it with a tree. Say for example, the roots of this tree are nothing but yamas and niyamas. The stem part of this tree may be the asana and pranayam. The different branches of this tree may be pratyahar, because you are getting the inputs through the various indriyas, the sensory organs. So it is pratyahar. The leaves of this tree may be the dharana. Every one of us having a different convictions about life. My dharana is different, his dharana is different, his dharana is different. So this dharana is the leaves of this tree. On the leaves there is a flower, and this can be equated with the dhyana. And on this flower, the fruit comes. This is called samadhi. These fruit and the roots, they are interconnected and interrelated. So, it depends upon your karmashaya. If you are having that kind of sattva or dharek in your personality, say for example the sattva is dominating your personality, you are already calm and quiet. No need to go anywhere, you can start from dharana dhyana. Even though asana, people have mistaken in understanding, Patanjali, what we are doing, we are introducing sthir sukham asanam. And what we are teaching? We are teaching something different. We don't understand the concept of sthir sukham asana. If you understand this properly, sthir is translated as steady because in grammar, Sanskrit grammar, there is a bahubari samas, we call it. And sthirancha sukhancha sthir sukham, steady and comfortable position is said to be asana. I don't agree with this because yoga is a practice oriented subject. We are not going to make this grammar, it is a practice oriented. What I used to say is, and what I have written article on this, 3-4 articles. Sthir means it is a steady, not qualifying the asana, it is qualifying the sukha. When you sukh sthirta is maintained for a long period of time, this is called sukhasana, asana. And asana is not only the body posture, it is a state of mind. When you stay in one thought for a long period of time, it can be called as asana. Now my simple question to you all is, in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, Padam Patramil, live like a lotus in this world. What does it mean? How to live like a lotus? How to apply this in our day-to-day life? This is a question. Friends, therefore, I used to say that asana is an attitude. It can be physical attitude, it can be mental attitude. Physical attitude, when your body resembles the shape of a lotus, when you take one foot to the one thigh, other to the other thigh, and you keep your hand in the lap or on the knees, it resembles the shape of a lotus. This is a physical attitude. This is also helpful because the energy which is revolving at the perineum part, when you sit like by folding your both the legs, the speed of that energy increases and it gives you kind of tranquilizing effect if you sit for a long period of time. Now, but what could be the mental attitude? That is to be understood. Now, here we have to give thought. We have to think over it. Friends, the lotus grows in where it grows? Can be interact? It will be helpful for me. It is in the mud. Can the muddy water touch the lotus leaf? No. Can the raindrops they stay upon the lotus leaf? No. Now, here is the point which is to be understood and it is to be applied in day-to-day life. Friends, so long we are living mechanically, we are performing our actions mechanically, we cannot escape from dukkha. This is to be understood. So we have to add our awareness to our actions. Mechanically you are doing because whatever the storehouse, karmasha we call it, whatever the subliminal impressions we have gathered in the storehouse, in the karmasha, whenever there is a certain stimuli, that particular sanskar, how it happens? how we perceive the universe, let us understand a little bit about this. According to Patanjali, this Chitta cannot be translated in any language because it is an umbrella term, used by Patanjali. It represents your subtle body, dear friends, wherein mind, ahankar, man, ahankar and buddhi. Man, buddhi, ahankar. Man, buddhi, ahankar. These are said to be antakarana according to Sankhya Yoga philosophy. I am not talking about Vedanta. Here, antakarana, in Vedanta antakaranam chaturvidham, here antakaranam trividham. So this is trividham. This mind, how it works, how the ahankar works, how the intellect works, this psychology is to be, this is what is the Indian psychology. We have to understand how we perceive the object. So mind is said to be the Ubhyatmak. It is also it cannot work without the help of the external organs. So mind goes out through the doors, the external organs. It assumes the form of that particular object, and that whatever is assumed by the manas, that information it puts before the ahankara. Ahankara correlates. It is an individuating principle which correlates. Now this correlation established only on the basis of the samskaras or the vasanas which are accumulated in your karmasha. If it says it belongs to me, it does not belong to me. If it belongs to me, then accordingly the intellect will decide, because nischyatmaka antakarana sthiti buddhi. Buddhi is said to be the nischyatmak, which is a deciding factor. So accordingly buddhi decides. This is how we are. So whatever the action we are doing on the basis of the previous samskaras. You cannot escape. Whenever there is a stimuli, ahankar correlates. In modern language we may say that whatever is brought to the mind and that it goes to the brain, and brain finds that information is available with me or not, and then there is a decision. So friends, this is to be understood properly, that how this mind is working, how this is working, that is what we have to keep ourselves under observation all the time. If we are performing our actions mechanically, we cannot escape. It means that so we have to awaken, or we have to just add the awareness to our actions. And once you start adding your awareness, you will be able to pay attention to the consequences. What will happen if I do this? What will happen if I do that? And with the help of this analysis, you will be able to withdraw. Oh, this is wrong. I should not do this. It will take me to endless misery and pain. Why I should be indulged in this type of act? So this is how we can withdraw. So awareness is to be added. And if you add your awareness to your action, dear friends, you are not allowing the muddy water to touch your being. That is what is the first part of it. Now the next part is, raindrops, they cannot stay upon they slip immediately. Now in day-to-day life, we are interacting with the outer world. At this moment, you are in a wakeful state, you are interacting, you are listening. Knowingly, unknowingly, you go on gathering certain impressions on your consciousness. If we sit for a while going to the bed, After completing all kinds of activities, just sit for a while on your bed. Just take a round. What kind of you were indulged in the activities the whole day? What kind of information you have collected? Whatever is conducive for yourself. Now here again, this conduciveness is also a relative. But if we are really interested for unfolding the spiritual dimensions of our life, then the conducive stands for conducive. This is conducive and this is non-conducive. So whatever is conducive, keep it, and rest which is not conducive, it should be dropped like a raindrop as they slip from the lotus leaf. That is what is the purpose. To understand what I am talking about? Is it understandable to you people? Because you all are mature, all are having the background, all are having this, So I think that this much is it. So what I wanted to tell is that when I talk about Ashtanga Yoga, no sequential relationship where it depends upon your personality. You have to unfold your all aspects. So because there is a concept of Videh Yogi and Prakriti Leen Yogi and Yoga Bhrashta Vijayante, that is what is the concept also. So it depends, you can start from anywhere, it depends upon your personality. But in Hatha Yogic literature, here the point is to be understood properly that unless Athasane, say for example Swatma Rama says in his Hatha Pradipika, Athasane Dride Yogi. First of all, you should learn to sit in one asana, that is physical asana, posture. Now, Bashi Hit Mitashana, you should have that control over your senses. Hitkar and Mitkar, who will decide that this particular food stuff is agreeable to your constitution and Mitkar to your temperament? Who will decide? No dietitian can decide this. So who has to decide? The individual person. So unless the individual keeps himself under observation, unless he understands his own constitution, his own temperament, dear friends, yoga literature, scripture is also a super bazaar. Whatever is suitable to you, your temperament, that is to be selected, Not the whole super bazaar you take at your home, There are thousands and thousands of Bij mantra and the other mantras. Whatever is suitable to your temperament, that mantra you have to choose. It depends, person to person. Therefore, yoga is individualized subject. It cannot be taught in a group. Today I was very happy in the morning when he started saying that you have to recite Om. So don't wait. Whenever you have to recite 10 times. One time along with all, and then thereafter whenever you find your own pace and recite. It was a wonderful idea, and it was the first time that I could, because we have done experiment on this Om recitation, how to recite, do this and that, so many things here. So it depends upon so Athasane Dade Yogi Bashi Hit Mitashana, you have to decide. Food plays a very important role. When I read this letter, of Mr. Dilip Rana, Dr. Dilip Rana's letter, Yogo Bhakti Dukha. Immediately I was reminded, Yukta Ahara Viharasya, Yukta Cheshtasya Karmasu, Yukta Swapnavabodhasya, Yogo Bhakti Dukha. So, Ahar, it plays a very, very important role in our practice. The personality based on this aspect. Whatever you eat, that you become, that is what जैसा खाए अन्न और वैसा होवे मन. So therefore, food plays a very, very important role, and therefore we have to take care of this aspect. If you go to the modern dietitians, they may say this body works like a machine, and machine needs fuel, and that fuel you are getting out of the food, the water and the air. This food, water and air gets converted into energy. It maintains the temperature of the body. That's all. For them, this is the concept of food. Recently they have started working on that. There's some impact on the mind also. Recently they have started. But here, Anna Vai Brahma. That's all. Our journey though starts from Annamaya, it does not mean it stops at Annamaya. You know this Panch Kosha theory of Taittiriya Upanishad? So this, as I was talking in the beginning, this Annamaya Kosh is regulated by the Pranamaya Kosh, and this Pranamaya Kosh is regulated by the Manomaya Kosh, and Manomaya Kosh is regulated by. So the thing is that thereafter he says, Athasane dade yogi bashi hit mitashana guru padishta markena. Now there is a need of a master, because if you practice wrongly, yukta abhyas yogena sarva roga kshayo bhavet, but ayukta abhyas yogena sarva roga samudbhava. So therefore, you need a master in the beginning. In the beginning only. Thereafter, as Vyasa says in his Patanjali Yoga, first commentary, on Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Yogena yogo gyatavya, yogeva upadhyaya. You can learn yoga through yoga, and therefore, yoga is end as well as the mean. You may talk about the unification or the integration, but it can be achieved. Today, we are not totally integrated or totally united. My dear friend, he is a practitioner. He will be agree with me. I am also a practitioner. Whatever we think, that we do not speak. And whatever we speak, we don't take that to the action level. What we call it? It is a kind of disintegration. So what is integration? Which is to be achieved. Today it is not there. We have to achieve this state. Whatever you think, that only you speak, and whatever you speak, that you take to the action level. Then only your personality will be called as integrated personality. So, friends, yoga is said to be mean. With the help of certain procedures, you have to achieve this state wherein your cognitive behavior, your psychomotor behavior and your affective behavior can be integrated. In Patanjali Yoga Sutra, particularly in Kriya Yoga, long back in 200 BC, if you go through this Western psychologist Bloom, he says the purpose of education cannot be achieved, or the goal of education cannot be achieved unless we integrate the three faculties of human being simultaneously. What is that simultaneously? This is the one and the same. When your head, heart and hands, when they are going together, so we all are having the three powers. What is that? With the help of which we are coming in contact with the outer world. which is that Gyan, Ichha and Kriya. Gyan, Ichha and Kriya. Yajnavalkya says somewhere, Gyanjanya bhaved Ichha. Ichha janya kritir bhaved. Kritijanya bhavet karma etat kritamuchyate. If you have knowledge, then only there will be desire. If there is a desire, then only there will be action. You may desire, but you don't indulge yourself in action. What is the use of this desire? You are having the knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi. But in practice, what is the use of this knowledge? So, this all three is to be integrated. So, this type of integration or the unification, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya, this unification and this integration, it can be achieved through certain procedures, and therefore yoga stands also as a means. Sanyamane yoga, yuj sanyamane, this is the root. So, friends, I was talking about the sequential relationship. In Hatha Yogic literature, you will find that unless you know to sit for a long period of time, you are not fit for the practice of pranayama. Unless you take care of your food, you are not fit for pranayama. And if you eat something else and if you do practice, you will harm yourself. You will become victim of various problems. Then, for pranayama you need bandhas. Mool bandh is needed. Jalandhar bandh is needed. And without Udyan bandh you cannot direct the prana into Sushumna Nadi. So you need mudras. Without mudras, you will not be able to rechannelize this prana into Sushumna Nadi. Mudra can protect that energy, systematically. So there is in Hatha Yogic literature, there is a sequential relationship, one after the other. Means the for Kumbhaka, the bandha is prerequisite. For the Kumbhaka, asana is prerequisite. So there is a sequential relationship in Hatha Yogic path. Now you will be surprised to note that Ghirinda is prescribing this pratyahara before the Kumbhaka, before the pranayama. Kumbhaka is a synonym term according to Swatmaram, because the emphasis is given to the internal retention of the prana, because the purpose is to rechannelize that prana into Sushumna Nadi. Therefore, unless you irritate that prana with the help of the internal Kumbhaka, you will not. Therefore, it is equated with this Kumbhaka is equated with pranayama. It is a synonym of pranayama. So here you will be surprised to note that asana, mudra, pratyahar, Kumbhaka means pranayama, and then dhyan and this samadhi. So it shows that Ghirinda is not very much whatever you can do when it depends upon. So, but here this next one. Now let me give you a little bit about Shiv Samhita. Is again a very important text, mainly dealing with Hatha Yogic practices. It describes the details, concept of Vayu, Nadi, Chakra, etc., and also about Kundalini Shakti. The most important part with regard to this text is, if you are having this kind of qualities, if you go through the 5th chapter and from 18th or 16th to 28th verses of Shiv Samhita, you can note the reference. 5th chapter, 16 to 28 verses. You will find, if you are having this kind of quality, you should do Hatha Yoga. If you are having this kind of qualities, you should go with Mantra Yoga. If you are having this kind of qualities, you should go with Laya Yoga. There are certain common practices with all these 4 yogas. But What kind of, say for example, in Bhavana Yoga, let me say a few words here. In Bhavana Yoga, I was talking about the term, this Kriya Yoga of Patanjali, wherein you can tackle these three, Jnana, Ichcha and Kriya, with the help of this Kriya Yoga. Jnana with the help of Swadhyaya, the Ichcha with the Ishwar Pranidhana, the feeling part can be tackled with Ishwar Pranidhana, and the Tapas can tackle your action part. So Jnana, Ichcha and Kriya, these three are refined with the help of Kriya Yoga. And this Kriya Yoga, whenever you are talking about the Bhavana Yoga, you can see it is Patanjali has clubbed all the three classical Jnana, Ichcha and Kriya. Now Jnana can be counted under Swadhyaya, the Karma can be counted under Tapas, and Ishwar Pranidhan can be counted under Bhakti. So this Jnana, Bhakti and Karma, it is clubbed by Patanjali. This classical understanding of Jnana, Bhakti, Karma is available under the Kriya Yoga of Patanjali, wherein you are refining your three faculties. But if you are emotion oriented, when I started working, I done my Acharya and then MA in Jammu University in Sanskrit. Then my teacher said that you should work on I said no, I will work on Bhakti. Yeah, that is my favorite subject. I am a Bhakta style, emotion oriented person, So I have to work with Bhakti aspect, not with other. Friends, if you are thinking oriented, you can take lead, you can take the support of Jnana Yoga in the beginning because you believe in analysis. But it does not mean that Bhakti and Karma is not supporting this Jnana. They cannot be separated. As your Ichcha, Jnana and Kriya cannot be separated, similarly this Jnana, Bhakti, Karma cannot be separated. However, if you are emotion oriented, go for Bhakti Yoga. If you are action oriented, go for Karma Yoga. And this is what is established by Lokmanya Tilak ji in his Gita Rahasya, wherein he says, Jnana Mulak, what is the purpose of Gita? The purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to set forth the Karma Yoga. But this Karma Yoga is rooted in Jnana and developed with Bhakti. So this cannot be separated. So here, yes. So this is very much clear from this is the only text, Shiv Samhita, which reminds you that if you are having this kind of quality, you should take up this path. You can take up that path. It depends. So, but my humble suggestion to all of you, it is not only raising hands and legs is yoga, my dear friends. If you don't raise your hands and legs, it will work. But try to live like a lotus in this world. That is what is yoga, dear friends. Like a lotus. So, next one. So, Gheranda Samhita has, मुझे थोड़ा सा ऐसा कर लूँ तो चलेगा? Thank you. Thanks. थोड़ा सा. Though this session is up to 11 o'clock, so I have freedom. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So, as I said that it has avoided the use of the term Hatha, but it has used the technical term Ghat Yoga. We'll talk on this. Ghat represents your whole aspect, not only, and beautifully he said, unless you understand your body, the function of the body, as I said in the beginning, we will not be able to work with this body. Ultimately, the purpose is to tackle the energy. So, however, it deals fundamentally with those practices which have been recognized as Hatha Yogic practices. Perhaps this is the reason it is identified as one of the representative texts of Hatha Yoga. Now, about the author little bit. Actually speaking, we do not find any is the latest after Hatha Pradipika in 17th century, you can say 18th century. And who is Gheranda, that also we do not know. But on the basis of the description, when we go through the text, we could find that he is the follower of Vaishnavite, this Vaishnav Sampradaya. As it is mentioned, Sarvam Vishnu Mayam Jagat. That is what. Jale Vishnu, Sthale Vishnu. Sarvam Vishnu Mayatmakam. That is what it says. So, Dr. Briggs, H.W. Briggs, he has found out that he was a man from Bengal. But there is no that hardened evidence available to us. The influence of Vaishnava sect is apparent in the description of Anath Nada as well as in this aspect whatever I was talking about. So further detail is not available about Gheranda. Whether he is a Bengali yogi or he was a Vaishnav as well as but it is clear that on the basis of this, whatever the reference given here, Sarvam Vishnu Mayam Jagat. So he is Vaishnavite on the basis of the next one. About his dates also, as I said, there is one manuscript available in the Royal Society of Bengal, Calcutta, and it was. So at least 100 years it could take, So we can say that it is about 17th century, sometime around 17th century. After, the most important is whatever the verse available, Mangalacharan we call it, salutatory verse, in the beginning. That verse which is available in the Hatha Pradipika, the same verse is available in Gheranda Samhita. So on the basis of this we can say that Gheranda is definitely after the Swatmaram. However, the all hypothesis and nothing can be said with full confidence. Even if it stands at a very late date, its value cannot be underestimated. It is regarded as one of the most important practical manual of yogic practices. It is a practical manual. Now, the whole text has been presented in the form of dialogue between Gheranda and the disciple Chandakapali. Chandakapali was a great king. When he says Sadhu Sadhu Mahabaho, that verse we are going to Mahabaho. So Mahabaho is not only having the muscle power but also who serves the others, So he considered to be the king. Chandakapali is considered to be king and he is asking and there is a dialogue form. So this kind of tradition, if you go through the Yoga Vashishta, the same tradition, So Vashishta is answering and Rama is questioning. The same tradition in everywhere. And Lord, the Parvati is asking and Lord Shiva is answering. So this is what is it. Even in Charandasa's Ashtanga Yoga, wherein Shukdev is said to be the Guru, master of Shukdeva, Charandasa, and Charandas is asking and Shukdev is answering. So this is a dialogue form. Now their Yajnavalkya Samriti is also in dialogue form, Ashtanga Yoga of Charandas is also in dialogue form. Please go ahead. In this text, yoga is termed as Ghat Yoga. The human body has been conceived as Ghat, mud pot, and its pot is to be baked properly in the fire of yogic practices. This is a very, very important, dear friends. अगर कच्चे घड़े को if we put in the water, it will dissolve, slowly. So therefore, somewhere or other, we have to bake this. So first and foremost is, we have to take care of the body, because without body, it is not possible to have the stable mind. So therefore, so it states just as an unbaked pitcher pot is continuously reducing its life and finally vanishes if put in water. Similarly, human body, this word is also continuously diminishing. But contrary to this, if this pot is baked properly, its life is increased. It is therefore necessary to condition the body by tempering it with the fire of yoga. This not only prepares, keeps the body fit, but also enables the person to attain the highest goal. Now the purpose is to not only to keep the body fit. People used to say health. It will keep you healthy. What you want to do with this health, that is most important, dear friends. So ultimately, if as in Hat Pradipika, Hat Vidya Raj Yogayo Padishyate, if it is not leading you towards that ultimate goal, then what is the use of doing this? No use of it. Therefore, this all body is important. It is to be baked properly like a mud pot, but we have to keep in mind the purpose is the higher goal, and that goal is self-realization. That is what is the purpose of Hatha Yoga also. It is not only to keep the body fit with a view to enjoy the worldly objects. No. So body is to be kept fit only for the sake of achieving the ultimate goal. The text is unique practical manual. It describes altogether 102 practices besides several other instructions to be followed and practiced by a yoga sadhaka. Such long list of practical instructions are rarely found elsewhere. There are texts which describe more than 100 asanas, but other practices are presented in such detail. The practices presented by Ghirinda we have balanced as are well balanced, and every limb of yoga has been given equal weight in its presentation. Now, though Ghirinda describes 7 limbs of yoga, and also he has accepted names of limbs identical in terms of Patanjali, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, but as I said, there is no sequence. So, Ghirinda Samhita, Goraksha Shatak, Hatha Pradipika have omitted the use of the limb yamas and niyamas for their curriculum. It does not mean they are not giving importance. It is very, very important. Therefore, Patanjali has accepted these yamas as Mahabhratas, Sarabhomik Mahabhrata, universal code, they are to be followed by each and every one, those who are interested to be successful in the field of yoga, in their sadhana. So, but as I said, Mitahari, Brahmachari, Tyagi, Yoga Parayana, with the help of these words, they have indicated. But during that period, people may be following all these things, and therefore they didn't think to enumerate the yamas and niyamas as a limb. However, it cannot be sufficient reason to conclude that the author of these texts have no consideration for the component of yamas and niyamas, which are the foundation of code of conduct. These texts have prescribed some code of conduct without mentioning yamas and niyamas. We find this aspect in Ghirinda more explicit in the description of Pratyahar. Pratyahar, when we are talking about, we are going to discuss, but when we are talking, Pratyahariyante Vimukhi Kriyante Indriyani Arthebhyo Iti Pratyahara. That is what is the vigrah of this term. Prati Ahar. Ahar means food. Each and every organ has its own ahara. And naturally, as Kathopanishad says, Pranchikhani Vyatrinata. These sensory organs are meant outside, they are running outside only, not inside. The purpose is, as in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it is made clear, if you do Pranava Japa, Tad Japas Tadartha Bhavanama, it is the 28th Sutra of the first chapter, and in the further 29th Sutra says, Tataha Pratyak Chetanadigamo Api Antaraya Abhavasya. Tataha thereafter Chetana, Pratyak Chetana. There are two terms in Sanskrit, Prang Chetana and Pratyak Chetana. Prang Chetana, when your consciousness is flowing outward, extrovert, when you are extrovert, it is called Prang Chetana. And when, with the help of this, when you contemplate upon this sound and if you recite, what happens to you? Automatically, this consciousness becomes introvert. So, this pratyahara, you have to develop that kind of ability to withdraw from the situation. And as I said in the beginning, you will not be able to withdraw if you are performing your action mechanically. Therefore, if you add your awareness, if you think over, you will never allow your senses to attach to its particular object. And therefore, Patanjali defines so vishay asamprayoge. So vishay. Every organ has its own vishay, own object. Asamprayoge, when there is no samprayog, when there is no connection. What happens? Then, chit sarupanukara, ivendriyanam. These all organs, they follow automatically. They become introvert, they follow the chitta, and that is what is called pratyahara, according to Patanjali. Tatah parama avashyatendriyanam. That is what is the highest mastery over the sensory organs. That is what. So this pratyahara is very, very important. In the beginning, we were equating this pratyahara with the different branches of the tree. Branches, there is one branch, another branch, there are different branches. We have to learn to withdraw this consciousness from the different branches. Thus, contrary to this, the Gheranda, though accepting it an important practice, has described dharana is the independent limb of yoga, leave it, has described it the part of the mudra. Thus, though the Hatha Yogic authors have used the terms available in Patanjali's system of yoga, they have described to them from Hatha Yogic point of view. It means we should not mistake. If you go through Vishishta Samhita, you will find, or even the Gorasya Shatak, if you, in the morning we were practicing this Shavasana and he was instructing, now from the toes to the ankle joint, from the ankle joint to the calf muscle, from calf muscle to the knee joint to the hip joint, muscle, and then the hip joint. Likewise, you have to learn to withdraw. This is also a kind of pratyahara. In Vasishta Samhita, there are 18 vital points. And all these 18 vital points, you have to learn to withdraw from one point to the other to the other. And this is also called kind of pratyahara. So, the concept is one and the same, but the way the Hatha Yogic people have dealt with this in detail, there is a, Patanjali just give you the definition. But how to withdraw, that part can be understood from the Hatha Yogic literature. And it comes under the Abhyas Yoga. Now, though the Hatha Yogic authors have used the terms available in Patanjali's, but that is Hatha Yogic point of view. Next. So, the sequence I have discussed with you, we have to do all the practices and it makes no difference if one takes up the pratyahara before the practice of pranayama, since one has to practice all the limbs of yoga. Please. So, Gheranda Samhita perhaps is the only text which considers cleansing processes imperative for all. If you go through the Hatha Pradipika, it says that if you have some problem related to the mucus, related to the vata, if there is an imbalance, then only you should go for Shatakriyas, otherwise the Nadi Shuddhi Pranayam will be sufficient to overcome all these impurities. Because pranayam is said to be pranayamena patakam, all kinds of impurity can be eliminated through the practice of pranayam. But Gheranda does not compromise. He says, no, first and foremost is you have to clean the system, and he does not compromise. So Gheranda prescribes two methods of Nadi Shodhana, Nirmanu Nadi Shodhan and Samanu Nadi Shodhan. cleansing processes have been considered Nirmanu Narishodhan method, whereas particular pranayam technique has been termed as Samanu Narishodhan method. So, special features of Gheranda Samhita. We also find Vedantic influence upon Gheranda, especially in the introductory verses, wherein the Gheranda describes there's no fighter than like Maya, no power greater than yoga, no friend greater than knowledge, no enemy worse than egoism. Friends, here we have to ponder little bit with a view to understand this verse, See, this is only a perception error. I used to say whenever there is a perception error, we misidentify ourselves with that which we are not. And therefore, the ego comes. And ego is the main culprit for all our suffering or problems. So here, we have to ponder upon. So he says, there is no fetter like Maya, illusion. It is a kind of ignorance. If we talk in terms of Patanjali, this aspect, Patanjali says, the strategy which is applicable to not only to our spiritual pursuit, but also it is very much similar to we call it Chaturvyuha. Are you aware of this term Chaturvyuha? Modern medical science or medical science. There is a disease, roga. Unless you know the cause of the roga, disease, you will not be able to overcome. So, there is a arogya and there is a bheshajya, means treatment. These are the four pillars of the modern medical science. Roga, rog ka karan, arogya and bheshajya means treatment. So, the disease, cause of disease, health and treatment. These are the four pillars of the same, the medical science. The same four pillars are used by our seekers with a view to understand who am I. Whether it is a Vedanta, whether it is a Sankhya, whether it is Yoga, whether it is Nyaya, whether it is a Bauddha, whether it is Jainism, whatever it may be. All have. If you go through the Four Noble Truths of Buddha, it is nothing but the fourfold strategy he has used. It's the same. If I talk in terms of Patanjali, in the 16th sutra of the second chapter, Heya, these are the words, technical terms used by Patanjali. Heya, Heya Hetu, Han and Hanopaya. Let us ponder upon this little bit. We will be able to understand about this. It says that Patanjali is very scientific and very particular. He says that Heya means what? Which is to be avoided. Heya and Upadeya, which is to be accepted. Upadeya means accepted. Heya means Tyajya, means that which is to be avoided. So, what we want to avoid? Dukh we want to avoid. No one wants dukh in this world. Every creature, every. So, dukh falls under this category of heya, as rog falls in the category of in modern medical science. But unless you know the cause of this roga, say there is a fever, and this fever, unless the doctor diagnoses what is the cause of this fever, he will not be able to prescribe any medicine, Then he says, open your mouth, and he says, oh, it is only because of the tonsils, nothing else. So, thereafter he prescribes certain medicine and you become alright. So, Patanjali says, unless you know properly this hey, what is to be avoided? He says, heyam dukkham anagatam. The friends, the dukkha, which suffering, which you have experienced in the past, you cannot do anything with this. And the suffering which are present, you cannot avoid. Here we have to understand our scripture, our tradition says, the karmashay which you have brought with you in this birth, it is to be experienced. You cannot avoid this karmashay which you have brought. In Sanskrit it is said, न भुक्तम क्षीयते कर्म कल्प कोटि शतैरपि अवश्यम मेव भोक्तव्यम कृतम कर्म शुभाशुभम. Whatever the deeds you have done in the past, they are to be experienced. We have taken this birth only because of this karmashay, this karmashay. And this karmashay you have to experience. Whether it is a painful or pleasurable, you cannot escape. But Patanjali says, heyam dukkham anagatam. The dukh which is not yet come can be avoided. So don't repeat the same. You can avoid the formation of the further karmashay. That much you can do. That is in your hand. That is what Patanjali says. You might be knowing about Ramana Maharshi. It is the latest example. He was suffering from tumor, You know this story? I think everyone knows. So, friends, na bhuktam, we have to experience, whether it is painful. So, the past dukkha, the present dukkha cannot be avoided. This is to be understood properly. And therefore, whatever is coming in front of you, it is to be accepted because it is coming from the karmashay. But if you add your awareness to your actions, then slowly you will be able to understand and you will never allow the formation of the further karmashay. This is what is to be understood. Now, what is the cause of this heya? Heya hetu? So Patanjali says, drashta drishya sanyogo heya hetu. Drashta means the seer principle, which cannot be reduced to be an object. It is always subject. Drishya means manifested. So, seen. So, this drashta misidentifies itself with the seen. Say for example, I have identified myself with this name and with this form. This is the misidentification. What is the cause of this misidentification? The Patanjali says, tasya hetura vidya, and here it stands for Maya. There is no difference. Tasya hetura avidya. It is a perception error. Now, the third view is, that is Hana, Arogya. It says, tad abhavat. When there is no avidya, when there is no Maya, sanyoga abhavo, there will be no association. And when there is no association, so it says, tadrishe kevalyam. That is what is the aloneness, that is what is the liberation, emancipation, whatever you call it. That is the arogya, swastha. You stay in your own true rupa, sarupa. This is called Hana view. Now what is the treatment? The treatment is Abhiplava Viveka Khyati. Abhiplava Viveka Khyati Rahano Paya. Abhiplava means unshaking. You have your knowledge. It is based, if it is based on the inference or the pratyaksh. Pratyaksh means based on the sensory organs. Anuman is also based on pratyaksha. Inferential knowledge is also based on pratyaksha. And then heard knowledge, whatever you have heard. You have heard about many things. न शस्त्र से कटे नहीं अग्नि जलाए, गलाए न पानी न मृत्यु मिटाए, वही आत्मा सच्चिदानंद में हूँ। शिवोहम 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 शिवोहम. I have heard this. I have not actualized this. I have heard only. नैनम छिन्दन्ति शस्त्राणि, यही ज्ञान अर्जुन को हरि ने सुनाया, यही ज्ञान वेदों में ऋषियों ने पाया, वही आत्मा सच्चिदानंद में हूँ। शिवोहम 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 शिवोहम. This is a hard knowledge. Patanjali says, so long your knowledge is based Shrutanuman Pragyabhyam Anya Vishya Vishesharthatvat. That is what Patanjali says in his sutra. Means, Shrut Gyan or based on the Anuman. This knowledge is always shaking, you know. Always shaking. So what kind of knowledge you want? You want the concrete knowledge, and that concrete knowledge comes only on the basis of your practice. So, the knowledge which is based on your concrete experiences is said to be unshaking knowledge, abhiplab knowledge. And that knowledge comes only through Yoganga Anusthana, nothing else. There is no way. So, this is the strategy, fourfold strategy, accepted not only for every sphere of life. If you apply this strategy, you will be successful. Pardon? Of course. You are free to ask any, but we have to follow the rules and regulations as said in Bhagavad Gita, Pariprashnen Sevya. Yes. Actually speaking, Gherenda's name doesn't come under the Nath Sampradaya, to be very, very frank. There are 24 Nath yogis. If you go through the first two verses of, or three verses, first is Mangalacharan and other ones, the different names of the yogis, Adinath, it starts from the Adinath, and Tintani, there are so many. So, Gherenda's name does not come under this Nath yogis. But whatever the practices he has described, all belongs to the Hatha Yoga tradition. But he is not a Nath yogi, to be very, very frank. Is it okay? And yes. It is not available anywhere. It is applied aspect. No, it is applied. I have applied this. Shiva Yoga. So it may be. Yeah. I don't know that. But it is applied. If you apply, what is to be understood, that as the child grows in mother's womb, it does not mean that the head comes first, grows first, and the legs afterward. The whole body grows simultaneously. Similarly, when we are talking about Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali, it's not a matter of practice. The matter of practice, it only limited to Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is Abhyas Yoga, wherein you have to do practice. But here, you have to be in tune with. And therefore, if you find there's no verb, in the sutras, in Ashtanga Yoga. Pranayama happens, asana happens. When you are able to focus your mind at one place, dharana happens. Then, when there is a continuous flow of your consciousness, uninterrupted flow of your consciousness maintained for a long period of time, dhyan happens, samadhi happens. Not doing aspect, not becoming. Becoming is limited to Kriya Yoga. So long you are trying and you are trying to become, it is up to Kriya Yoga. It is Abhyas Yoga. It is not Anushtana. So people have mistaken in understanding. Therefore, I equate with this tree. Okay, that tree, each and every part of the tree is connected with each other. Okay, so if you start from, otherwise the ahimsa, which is said to be the first jama, will remain impracticable. You will not be able to follow, because ahimsa can be followed by one who is following the two virtues in life. What is that? Love and compassion. Love and compassion are the two beings of sadhaka. If these two are not developed, not followed, ahimsa cannot be followed. And what Patanjali says, ahimsa pratisthayam tat sanido vair tyaga. There will be no animosity. When you go to the saintly person, today in the morning I went to inside in the prayer, I just sat down and I was a bit worried, I may go to dhyan and I may miss my lecture today, The place, when you sit in front of the saintly person, your aura is dominated with the atmosphere, with the ambience of that place, And therefore, Patanjali mentions, Tat Sanido Vair Tyaga. There will be no animosity in front of the person who is the follower of ahimsa. So, friends, will continue this in the second session. Yes, we'll tackle the questions and yeah. Yeah. In Hatha Yogic literature, it is mentioned this much kumbhakas if you are able to do, then you are in the state of dharana. But in Hatha Yogic, according to the general, dharana dhyan samadhi is a process, inner journey, you can say. It is a process of inner journey. Let me explain little bit. If I talk in terms of Patanjali, then I would say, can I take the help of this blackboard? This is, are you aware that Patanjali describes Dharana Dhyan Samadhi in his Vibhuti Pad, not in Sadhana Pad. So it is also understandable that why Patanjali is putting Dharana Dhyan Samadhi in the Vibhuti Pad. Vibhuti is a? No, it is not in Sadhana Pad. The first sutra of dharana is in the Vibhuti Pad. So you get that ability, means if you continue with this flow, then you develop an ability. Ability means a kind of vibhuti you get. And what is that vibhuti? That whatever the object you have taken for your dharana, your meditation, your conscious will never shift from this object to the other object. If I have taken Shankaracharya ji as an object for my meditation, this conscious will never shift from Shankaracharya to other Acharya. number one. However, because of the previous habit, what happens to us? That this aspect is having the different means the dimensions, different. So you are moving from one to the other to the other, but within the periphery of one object. Okay, this is the state of dharana. But it's Patanjali Deshbandha Chittasya Dharana. That is what Patanjali says. Deshbandha, you can wind your chitta on one object, but this object is having different aspects. So it can move because of the previous habit. It can move within the periphery. Okay, and when the beauty of this process is that whatever is, if you think about Shankaracharya ji, sometimes the idea comes in your mind about Advaita, sometime about the different mathas, sometime about his discussion with the Mandan Mishra, sometime about his Parkaya Parve, sometime about his every, means that whatever is coming to the surface with regard to Shankaracharya ji, that will be dropped. That will be dropped, and it will be dropped permanently. In day-to-day life, whatever is coming to the surface, we are dropping and again it is appearing, dropping and again it is appearing. Okay, but in this process of Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, this is the beauty of this process, that whatever is dropped, it is dropped permanently, it never comes to the surface. This is the beauty of this process. Then slowly, you are stick to one point. Okay, now when you stick to one point, it turns into dhyana. Tatra pratyek, tatra means in that state of mind, pratyekatanata, ekatanata. When you are putting the oil from one vessel to the other vessel, okay, it is ekatanta, ekadhara. The continuous flow of your consciousness is maintained. In this state, it turns into dhyana. In this dhyana, what happens to you? You think that I am meditator. Meditation and process of meditation. This triputi is maintained. You are aware. I am meditating. You are aware of this in this process. Continuous flow is going on, but you are aware of. Even though you are aware about the process. That is what in the concept of Samapatti, Patanjali makes it clear. What happens to you? He says, it is the 41st sutra of the first chapter. He says, Grihetri Grahan Grahiyeshu Tathastha Tad Anjanta, that is the Samapatti. When your vrittis are dwindled, vrittis are dwindled means what? Rajasic and Tamasic vrittis are dwindled, they are weakened. Only Sattva ka udrek hai, only Sattva is. In this state of mind, what happens to you? One conscious phenomena, meditator, meditation or process of meditation, Grihita, Grahan and Grahya, it is one and the same. Then wherever when Chit becomes like a crystal clear, okay, wherever you focus it, if you put it on the red colored paper, it will become red color. If yellow color, other to other, there's nothing is there. So, however, this Grihita, Grahan, Grahiyeshu, tathast, it stays there. Tad anjanta, as the kajal lagati hai na auratein, black lines and eyes cannot be separated. Similarly, it becomes tad anjanta, it becomes one with that. If you focus now this kind of chitta to the grahya, it will assume the form of grahya as it is. I used to say, they give this one example with a view to understand this, dear friends. What do you call it? The mirror and the light. Now, I would like to ask you, the mirror cannot reflect without the help of light. Are you agree with this? Light is there, mirror is there, but the surface of the mirror is polluted with the dust particles. Will it reflect your image? If a distorted picture will be there, isn't it? So, when Chit is totally clear, pure, then what happens to you? It says, Gretare Grahan Grahayeshu Tathastha, it stays there. Tad Anjanta, as it is. Tad Anjanta. Anjan stands for the black line. Kajal ke liye. So, similarly. So, that is what is the process of Samapatti, wherein this Dharana Dhyan Samadhi process is inbuilt in this process of Samapatti. It is not different. So, what happens to you here? So, when you continue this flow continuously for a long period of time, then what happens to you? Tadeva Arthamatra Nirbhasa. Thereafter comes only the shines, nothing, as if you are not present. So, what happens to you thereafter? You think that you are not present. Tadeva Arthamatra Sarupa Shunya Eva, as if you are not present. Okay, Sarup Shunya Eva, as if you are not present when you become one with this. So, oneness, concept of oneness comes only at the stage of this. Is it okay? Just for the sake of understanding. Thank you very much.